Well, I am underway to the Meadows. I'm going to get there, I don't know, around 4:30 or something. The last couple of days I slept good in Lexington, but the last night I was in Ohio, I didn't. And I think it's the remnants of my back. I think it's a different bed to different bed. And quite frankly, I was so surprised. I had to fight through a little bit the first 4 or 5 days after the accident. My tailbone was quite sore, my back, especially doing all the driving. So a lot of Tylenol and Advil, but nothing serious. As I say that, I'm going to put the heat on my butt right now. But a couple of days last week, the one day in particular, I didn't sleep even for a second the whole night. And then every so often that'll happen. I know people say, well, with everything going on, it's hard to just put it to bed. I never really had that problem. When it's time to go to bed, it's time to go to bed. Now, last night, I didn't bring you guys a video yesterday. I was excited about the Meadows. It didn't work out the way we wanted. And I'll talk about all that in just a second. 3-point blue chip kind of got mired in traffic, and that was my doing. I just asked Dave not to, he's 7-5, but if you race him like that, you're not gonna be happy with the results. And that's just how he is right now. And I know the horse. He will come back to life. It has to be on his terms. And with Looks Like Money, they go 26-4. He ends up, the thing about Looks Like Money, and this is the tricky thing, even for a very experienced driver like Dave, your first 3 steps out of the gate, you're beat out of the gate, right? And your immediate instinct is, okay, what do I do next? Retreat, right? Because if you press, it doesn't feel like he's got enough there to get there, right? And he can't go 26-4, so he wouldn't have. But in retrospect, if he just, as he comes off the gate, somebody said, well, he was off the gate. He wasn't off the gate. He fell off the gate. And that's why I always sometimes, especially from the inside, I'll bring him in late and I'll chase him through the inside. He'll get up there 27-1, 27-2, which would have dropped him probably in the 3-hole yesterday. And coming first over from the 3-hole, again, you got to kind of be a little stern with Looks Like Money when you move him, right? Remember what I told you. He made all his money this year. Leave, sit. Leave, sit. It was never once in a while, first over and give it to them. The 91 at Northfield, he was second over into a slowing pace on the front end. Yes, he's a good horse. He'll win. But his preferred mode of victory is leave, sit, right? On the front or the 2-hole. Now, James was certain that he was just no good. I almost say he testifies. James says he's not as good in the front. Yes, when you go at Mohawk, all right, you guys watch enough races, they go 27, 56, and 2. That's not enough for Looks Like Money. Because every horse in behind him can come and get him, right? But if you go 27, 55, and 2, 123, he will win in 52 or 51 in a piece, or 124, right? But if you go those Mohawk fractions, he's not as good on the front because he is a little vulnerable in any turn, small or big. He's a tiny bit vulnerable in the corners. And if you jump on him in the corners, you're going to zap him, right? He's got no energy left. He's got no steam left. And then you get swallowed up down the lane by the rest of them. And that's kind of how Mohawk is, right? If you take the time to go back and watch his races, if he's got time to load up in that last turn on his terms, and he's in the right class, he's a winner. The Meadows, a little softer company than, that's part of the reason that, I told you it wasn't the staggered gate at wherever it was, Scioto, Miami Valley, wherever it was. It's, because there's not a staggered gate, there is at the Meadows, and they let you go a little further down the track at the Meadows than they do at some of the, these are all accurate depictions of some of the problems with Looks Like Money, but the reality is they're good horses too. I bring this up because, I get emails all the time from our clients. Maybe it's time to move Looks Like Money. Maybe it's time to turn out Looks Like Money. Neither of which are going to happen. One, it might sound wonderful to say, oh, well, we can move him and replace him. Okay. I don't know if you watched how the year's been going, but it is not easy to replace a Looks Like Money. Or we would have. we would have a couple of them right now. And although we just paid $90,000 for Winter Soldier, if you're thinking to yourself, well, we'll just wait for another Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier's not looks like money either, in case you're wondering. I don't like those other ones. He's not there yet. 52-1 at the Meadowlands his last start at $1 trillion. He's a nice horse with a bright future. Looks like money's been there, done that. Put in the time, put in the hours. I would just not think that you can just replace him, because you can't. So I'm well aware of his injury, but he's not an old horse. And that injury has stayed good all year. You know, rule of thumb, if you keep an eye on it forever, right? That hind suspension, if you watch it, be careful with it, treat him good, manage him properly. The first few months you come back is where you're really susceptible. We're a year plus in now. A perfect example. Yes, tore his suspension when he was younger. He's like, what, 8 now? 9? And Jason has him. He said you'd never know there was anything ever done. You'd never know he ever had an issue. If I let you look at Looks Like Money, you would never know. You could never pinpoint where he got injured. Ever. Because it was done right. But I would caution everybody. I know you see he's making money, then he's fourth. But it's just timing, right? The way that the race shaped up. 26-1. We got away 5th. Aaron was able to slam the brakes on. 56. Bye-bye race. It's over. That's not a bad horse. He went in 52 himself 2 weeks ago. Now you got to come first over into a horse that's sharp right now, feeling good, and got everything his own way thus far in the race. It's not going to work out well. And he was able to gas Looks Like Money right where he didn't like it in the last turn. So it's just the way the race shaped out. It's nobody's fault. It's not Dave's fault. It's not the horse's fault. The horse isn't tired. He's not sore. He's a racehorse, and he raced yesterday, and that's what happened. So there's my 2 cents on. I was just about to do that. You know what? I'm just going to get in this lane. I'm not going to torture myself over there. You go over there, then you got to round cars, and it's not worth it. So Looks Like Money, I thought raced good. Was he great? No. Was he fantastic? No. But he is not slipping in the least. When I watched the race, I was not shocked with the way it ended up. That's the best way to put it. 3-point blue chip will be fine. You just got to be able to knife your way through. You know, he gets away close on a helmet and gets out at the head of the lane. Bang, you're good. Looks Like Money comes back, or 3-point blue chip comes back to life. And next week you can probably just go ahead and pull him first over or put him on the front. That's how he is. When he's good, he's good. When he's not, you have to be aware, because there is something waiting for you much worse than not good. And when he starts to sour up and not want to do it, then you're not going to be happy. So you kind of have to cater to him. That's how he's been since he's a baby. Dave didn't hurt him. He did right by him. Finished up strong. Probably wishes he had stayed left. But that's racing. Blue Rare, scoped her, a little bit of mucus, but quite a bit of mucus coming out of her gluteal pouches. So I don't really know how to explain them, other than to say I guess she was a little sick last night. But again, she's another filly, a little young in her career for me to be making aspirations of what she can do and what she can't do. But I would rather get away 2nd or 3rd and stay along the rail than get away 5th and be first over into the favorite, or at least one of the horses that can beat her. But I'm certainly not going to second guess James. You know, he wins a lot of races. The filly wasn't awesome last night, but there is room for improvement. I guess as the weeks, because we had like 2 or 3 weeks of very flat racing, then one very promising week, and then back to flatness somewhat, or a variation of it. So it's been frustrating for me. But all these races are not without answers, right? Blue Rare, right? Even the 2 horses that raced at the Meadows yesterday. It wasn't sickness, it was just the way it was. Blue Rare had mucus in her, and then I at that point, I don't want to do a video yesterday. And I'll tell you why, as I round up yesterday's results for you. Woodmere Bullet, surprising victory, 58, looked good. Certainly, there was some tentative moments where he put steps in and got a little rolly, especially coming out of the last turn. But I will say this, Usually when horses are first over, it had to be likely a little bit tired. When they put steps in coming out of the last turn, usually that's it. That's the end of the night. And for him to come raging back down the lane and run down those horses, that's impressive. Well, great job. I believe Corey McPherson drove him. Great kid, another kid that worked for us all those years ago. Him and Mark Campbell worked for us in 2007. Really, really good kid. Really good kid. Anyway, as I said, that's yesterday. I'm on my way back. You know the one thing you can't get in the States? When I talk about the difference, so weird. Mike Latessa and Lauren were in Ireland last week. Sent me a screenshot from Starbucks. It said tiramisu latte. Are you kidding me? Never seen them anywhere. Not in Canada, not in the US. What you can't get in the US are these little mini pancakes. You can get them in Canada. All right, so that's yesterday. Now, I want to bring an update for all the horses. You know what? This is an 11-minute video about yesterday. I'm going to end this video and start another one. A full update. I have a number of horses I want to update here. It's a long list. So, maybe you're not looking for updates. Maybe you don't care. Maybe your horse isn't on this list. I don't know. But I'm going to close the video with this. So I've formulated a plan. Amy and I have come to a tentative agreement as to what is going to take place with the kids this weekend. I'm super excited. A long road trip starting on Saturday for Ollie, Addie, and myself. Now Ava is in Prince Edward Island. She's flying back Sunday. Amy's going to hook up with her Sunday and come back as Ava starts school on Monday. Now the two little ones, they don't start school till Wednesday. They're coming on the road with Dad. We're going to Scioto on Saturday. We're going to the Poconos on Sunday. We're going to Lexington on Monday, and then back Tuesday afternoon for their start to their school year. When I was a kid, I was always super excited about the end of the year going to St. John with my dad and watching the races. And I knew when we got in that car and headed back to Prince Edward Island, summer was over. And that's kind of how it is right now, right? One last hurrah for the kids, and I'm excited about that. Ollie yesterday, his team played great. He made a couple of good plays, slumped a little bit at the plate, and I know it was bothering him. And he came off and he said, "I just can't get a hold of the ball right." I said, "Well, honey, I know exactly how you're feeling because I'm going through it right now with the horses. They're never always good. And you can never always be good. I don't care if you're Vladimir Guerrero or whether your looks like money or whether you're Oliver McDonald. You just can't always be good. So the only way to get through it, though, is to put your head down. You know, trust, as they say in baseball, trust your mechanics. Get back to basics. Work hard. And things will come around, and that's just the way it is. So I was so pleased to see his team win. You know, you guys know that I was a little... For somebody who's super optimistic, a little pessimistic, this was a 13U tournament, and these are 12U boys. And never will you see a Little League baseball game end 3-1. I think it was 3-1 or 4-1. They allowed one run. And the little guy that was pitching doesn't usually pitch, and he did a tremendous job. Worth noting, his name is Anthony Fioravante. He did a great job yesterday, that kid pitching. Anyway, Ollie's team won the game 5-1. They're playing at 1 o'clock. They're playing again at 3 o'clock. I better take this. It's Jason. Back with your videos. More updates in just a minute. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody.